Good afternoon, and welcome to Forward Team Daggett 2020. I am Antonio Tony Daggett, and I'm a United States Army Colonel Chaplain with 36 years of military service retired.
And I'm Vita Daggett, the wife of the Colonel for 37 years, and we are the natural parents of 10 children, 8 sons and 2 daughters.
Many of you are aware that I am a candidate and therefore running for the United States Congress House of Representatives seat here in the District 1 of Indiana. Congressional District 1 of Indiana includes Lake and Porter counties and a portion of LaPorte County.
We're at the campaign headquarters for Forward Team Daggett 2020, and our purpose is to provide information and context to the many things which are happening locally, nationally, and globally. Thus far, we have shared information with you on voting by mail, providing PPE for hospitals, and the impact of state lockdowns on some military veterans. Before we dive into our topics for today, we want to remind you that the voting date has been changed to June 2nd. The voting date has been changed to June 2nd. So if you're getting information in the mail that still says May 5th, just be reminded that date has been changed, okay? Also, if you would like to contact us, you can do so through www.electdaggett.com. www.electdaggett.com. For those of you that like Facebook, we can be found at Antonio Tony Daggett on Facebook. For Instagram, that's Antonio.Daggett. Twitter, Antonio Daggett. For you YouTube followers, just type in Forward Team Daggett. And if you like podcasts, then we are also available via podcast. We are on Anchor, Google Podcast, and as well as Breaker. And there you would just type in Forward Team Daggett.
Vita, our topic this afternoon that we'll be covering has to do with the lockdown that has been put in place by Governor Holcomb.
Mm-hmm.
Many states obviously are under lockdown at this point. But the question, I think, is that what kind of specificity has been given in the executive order and therefore down to the city level as to how law enforcement will actually enforce this lockdown.
And if it's not there, it doesn't need to be there.
Exactly right. Because I think it's important that we recognize that the longer the lockdown continues, the more frustration it's probably going to create within people. And if that is the case, then law enforcement has to be given specific directions on how to handle issues that it may encounter. I think it's important to look at, for example, the sort of executive order that was put in place by the governor of California, Governor Newsom, on down to the mayor of Los Angeles, and then also the police chief there in San Francisco. In all these circumstances, there's been specificity given as to how law enforcement should approach people who are currently not indoors as indicated. You think that's a pretty important issue, correct?
I do, and it seems to be in California where there are specifics. It seems that it's law enforcement working with the community, and that law enforcement only comes in when the community is not listening to itself, so to speak.
Very good.
But those specifics, I believe, are definitely needed. It's going to keep down a lot of tension, so to speak.
Sure, because the longer people are locked down, obviously the more frustration takes place, particularly with veterans. Veterans have a tendency to be free-spirited people, and lockdowns are very difficult for them to deal with. So some of the things we want to ask the mayors here in this district to consider a specific guidance for their police chiefs in identifying what is expected of them in dealing with this. We like people to initially comply to social pressure. Maybe a neighbor saying, hey, look, stay in, it's safe for you to do so. If that's not working, then maybe a very calm conversation with a resident as to the importance of staying within the guidelines of the lockdown. And then if that's not the case, what California has done is made it perfectly clear that they're not willing to arrest anyone. The extent to which they're willing to go is only with a misdemeanor. So we want to see specificity identified for our local law enforcement because it helps and keeps our local law enforcement safe as well as a community which is dealing with a lot of frustration. Thank you for joining us here at Forward Team Daggett 2020.